Geoff Schwartz, a 3-year starter at Oregon. Ducks in Eugene, hosting Ohio State. May have the best player. Chip Kelly's now aboard to fix the run game for Ohio State. All right, Geoff, host of the Bear Bets podcast with Chris Felica, who's awesome. It's the biggest college football weekend by a mile. This one really stands out to me because I think these two teams, along with Texas, maybe Georgia, I'm cooling on them. I think you could make an argument. Texas, Oregon, Ohio State are the best teams in the country. As a former Duck, tell me the way to beat this Ohio State team.
Well, I think we need our best game from Dillon Gabriel. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? He's had B performances this year. He's made some A throws. We need to have an A game from him. Colin, Ohio State is supremely gifted. They are a very talented football team. It's all over the field. It's offensive line, it's defensive line, obviously wide receiver. Their safeties are incredible. They're both NFL guys. I mean, one of them started for Nick Saban as a true freshman. Like, it's a legitimately talented team. So you need your best performance from your most important player, which is your quarterback. If Dillon Gabriel gives Oregon that performance, they can physically hang tough in this game. Like, I haven't felt this comfortable with the physicality of an Oregon defense against a team like Ohio State and maybe forever. Yeah. So it comes down to Dillon Gabriel. And then on the other side, look, we got to pressure Will Howard, right? If Will Howard gets rattled, that's a way to win this game. Ohio State has more ways to win. So Oregon's way to win is Dillon Gabriel playing in A game, an A-plus game. Look, Jeremiah Smith, I mean, you see right here, like, there's no defense for that, Colin. Like, if they're going to throw the ball up to him, he's going to make the play. You have to go answer if you're Dillon Gabriel. So I think Ohio State has more ways to win. But if Gabriel plays his best game as a Duck, Oregon can win this game.
So Ohio State, to me, and Texas looked the part. I think they just look different. I sort of like how Michigan last year they were just leaning on everybody, and I feel Ohio State may be a better version of Michigan last year. Will Howard, the quarterback, road game. Ohio State in these big games hasn't necessarily played badly against the Clemson or a Georgia, but they haven't won a lot of them, and this is not neutral field or a bowl game. This is the loudest place outside of Gainesville, Florida, I've ever stood in a football stadium. You were there you saw a lot of teams disintegrate. Yeah. Are they good enough, Ohio State? Are they good enough at quarterback? Because this game could come, it has a 28-27, 36-33 feel to it.
Well, we're going to find out, right? Because I think Oregon will try to stop the run as they need to do in this game. If Ohio State runs the ball for 250, right? If the Boise State game happens, the game's over, right? So I think we all understand that. And Chip Kelly is going to want to run the football. It's what he's always wanted to do. And he'll continue to try to do it here because, if you get Will Howard in the 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, then you let your pass rushers get after it and you have a better way to force him into turnover. He's throwing turnovers. He had some bad turnovers last week against Iowa. So it will come down to trying to find ways to make this a Will Howard game, not a running game. Look, again, I'll go back to this. You mentioned talented teams. I mean, Ohio State's right there. I mean, they got maybe not all first-round guys everywhere, but they got guys being drafted from, pick 33 until pick 100, and they probably have 15 of those guys ready right now to go to the NFL. Yeah. That doesn't include their young wide receiver they got. So it's a very talented team. So you have to find a way to get the weakness. I will say one thing Oregon has done well this year is special teams. It certainly helped in a game like this. Special teams could matter, right? We've had a punt return, a kickoff return. We've made a 50-yard field goal, first time since 2008, which only Duck fans care about, but pretty long time since we made a 50-yard field goal. So we've done some little things that might help us in this game on special teams.
So 120th meeting. Texas, I think, rolls Oklahoma. Quinn Ewers is back. If he's not, Arch Manning's excellent. I think this is the best team I've seen. It's 1-1A with Ohio State. Anything about Texas worry you?
Not really. Not in this game. Oklahoma can't score, Colin, right? And I think it's really hard in college football when you're playing an elite team like Texas to not have the ability offensively to score in explosive plays, right? Because Texas defense is really solid. They're good. They're good at all levels. Maybe you want to say secondary is still a little bit of a question mark. But if you can't exploit the other team in 4 to 7 plays, you're not going to score if you're Oklahoma against Texas on 12-play drives. It's not going to happen. They're too talented. They're too good. And I think Texas, when you look at what they can do well, they basically lost a bunch of guys in the NFL, Colin, and look exactly the same or better in all those spots. And it goes back to what I think is the way to build your roster. Sark has taken a lot of time to build via the high school recruiting in the trenches. And of course, you can add talent, via the portal, but we're seeing the fruition of that, right? In year 3, 4, 5, all these guys are now mature. They're big. They're physical. And when you can win in the trenches, you can win any game.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk. You know him well. You faced him many times. I said going into this season, I thought, one of the things I underrated, USC will only lose their center and their running back. It's a really young offense. And on the offensive line, it's redshirt freshmen and true sophomores everywhere. Lincoln Riley deserves criticism. They don't have 3 playable tackles in the program. They have 2, 1 I don't like. So my take is this was a bit predictable, though I missed on it. Do they have a shot? Because Penn State may have one of the best edge rushers in college football. Do they have a shot to win this game? It is a 3,000-mile flight. That matters a lot in college. So as bad as they looked against Minnesota, do you like USC's chances this weekend at home?
Well, they always have a chance. I don't know if I like it, Colin, because in the last 12 games, USC's won 5 of the last 12 games. And the theme in all of their losses is the same. They're playing a team that's more physical than them, and they get beat at the line of scrimmage. And last year, they weren't as bad in the offense. Like, the offensive line is a huge problem. They bench guys during games this season.
Yeah.
And then the play calling sometimes, this is a traditional thing that happens to play callers, right? Where when you sort of things go badly, what do? You revert back to passing the ball. Well, they're running the ball okay. It happened last year, too. Marshawn Lloyd averaged 7.5 yards a carry, but it got 12 a game. And so we're getting a situation where we're sort of not trusting the offense because the offensive line can't block. We're not scoring points. They're much better defensively. That can keep them in a game like this where I think Penn State's offense, we still want to see a little bit more from them. It's there, right? The bits and pieces are there. But USC physically in these games over the last basically calendar year has not played well, and they have not covered these games. So I sort of have to see it, Colin, before it happens. We talk about Sark, building up in the trenches. It's year 3 at USC, but it's year 1 for their rebuild in the trenches. They're really far behind and rebuilding the trenches, and it's going to show this weekend.
Finally, Deion Sanders, it's different. He gets attention. I think Kansas State's a real team. I think Kansas State and Utah, watched them both. Those are the best teams in the Big 12. I think Colorado's a bit over their skis, but it's in Colorado. They've got momentum. You can argue they have the 2 best players in the country, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. What say you on this one? Kansas State's a real team. I'm not sure Colorado is, but they're a real fun story.
Well, they're off their best win, right? The UCF game was a legitimate win. That it's the best win that they've had. I think to your point, Kansas State's just better across the board. And Colorado's improved a lot. This is not really an anti-Colorado thing. I think Kansas State's better across the board. Yeah. But the issue that you always have in any of these games is what happens if Shedeur throws for 400 yards? That's always the problem. It's hard to bet against Colorado for that reason. I think Kansas State is better. I think the problems that we saw Colorado have against Nebraska, Kansas State can do the same things to them. But Kansas State's quarterback, Avery Johnson, cannot pass the football. So if they get behind this game or turn into a track meet, I like Colorado in this game, right? So both teams off a bye. I think Kansas State is better. The fear of betting against Colorado is Sanders and Hunter, the 2 best players on every team. I mean, every game, every time they play, and they can always come back in a game and make plays. Look, they should have lost to Baylor. They didn't. They won. Those are things that Colorado does. Other teams can't do because they don't have that quarterback. So I think the number 2 is off. I took Kansas State minus 3.5. I think they're better than them by more than that, especially on the road. But it wouldn't surprise me if Colorado won.
By the way, I want to throw this out. I said this week, Mahomes is only 6'2". Aaron Rodgers is 6'1.5". I've never even thought about their height. Cam Ward's listed at 6'2". I think he looks small. Shedeur Sanders is 6'2". I never think about his height. I would take Shedeur Sanders as the number 1 quarterback in college, despite some ego stuff. Are you a Shedeur Sanders fan?
Yeah, so I've said this before. I actually think if you put him on Texas or Georgia or Bama, he's the number 1 pick, no questions asked. I think he's that good of a player. His footwork's good. He knows where to go with the ball. He's super tough. I mean, he's getting beat up back there all the time. And this is a little bit better. I just think if you put him, his offense is stagnant. They just line up in a formation. They stand there and snap the ball, which he might like to do, but that's not really the best offensive design. We know motions and shifts and whatnot. Imagine if you play with Sark. I think we say no doubt number 1 quarterback. Cam Ward makes too many mistakes. Shedeur doesn't throw the ball across his body like that interception that Cam Ward threw at the end of the first half against Cal.
Yeah.
Shedeur would never do that. So the Cam Ward decision-making process, which has gotten better from Washington State, still has that in him. Shedeur doesn't do things like that. So I think if Shedeur played elsewhere, we look at him even in higher regard than we do in Colorado with the issues he has on his offensive line.
Geoff Schwartz, 8 years, former Duck. By the way, Oregon had the number 1 rushing offense in the country when Geoff Schwartz was there.
Yes.
So here's the weekend. I actually like Iowa, Texas, Penn State, Arizona, Oregon, LSU, Pass, Kansas State. All right.
I've bet on Iowa. I bet on Penn State. I bet on Kansas State so far.
All right.
Those are my, and I think Texas covers. I think Texas rolls. I just can't see Oklahoma. They can't score, man.
Yeah.
How do you win a game when you can't score? Or how to cover a game, I should say, when you can't score?
Good job. What a crush it.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate it.
You bet. He's got a little duck. Got a little duck thing there on there right there. I see.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.